We'll try this one from memory. Now, if the universe is balanced on a knife edge, that goes to show that an almighty God must be keeping it in place. The fine-tuning can be seen in the following scientific facts. Now, if Planck's constant, which relates a photon's energy to its frequency, if that were zero, then quantum mechanics wouldn't work, making atoms unstable. If it were greater, however, then DNA would not store information. Now, if gravity were stronger, the sun would emit gamma rays, destroying us all. If gravity were weaker, then the sun would emit infrared, making photosynthesis and plant life impossible. Now, if the strong nuclear force were stronger, then the sun would burn up all its fuel within a second. If the strong nuclear force was weaker, then the sun would not burn at all. And if the down quark's mass in neutrons was greater by a factor of 3, then everything in the universe would be made of hydrogen. Now, undirected chemistry has a tendency towards death, such as racemization, rather than towards evolutionary life. A primordial soup would have too much water acting against its chemicals from making DNA or anything complex. And if there were able to be formed some proteins from amino acids in a primordial soup, that would still be a far cry from being able to make a living cell with all its complex machinery. And if the first living organism was a stem cell, then it would have been more complex than a bacterium. You can't say that a stem cell is a simple life form. Now, carbon-14, with half-life of 5,730 years, should have decayed from all fossils, according to evolutionary time spans, but in fact it can be found in dinosaur bones. Now, sulfur bacteria is in its present day form is exactly the same as you find in its fossilized form, but it should have evolved after all that time and changed with the environment. Well, Medusa virus with 461 genes, 61% of which are not found in other organisms, is likely a case of special creation rather than of evolution. And it is inconceivable that the human immune system could have evolved incrementally over time, because it's an irreducible complexity, as Dr. Natalie Bennett notes. Well, different animals will share or have similar genes to each other, such as fruit flies and mice, not because they're related to each other, but because they have a common designer. And animals can make new species by varying their genes, but they will never make a new animal kind. So, sea lions never become wildcats. Now, cats can breed into a new species within 3 generations, which is much faster than evolutionists thought. Now, some animals, like dolphins and bats, have similar genes, especially for their sonar systems for those two animals, but they cannot be shown to have a common ancestor. Similarly, the rachis structure in bird feathers is similar to the xylem structure in wood, but of course they can't be shown to have a common ancestor either. Well, geocentrism and eugenics were scientific beliefs that we could oppose and have been opposed, but also evolution and long-age geology can be opposed scientifically as well. And Noah's flood could have caused the planation surfaces seen on many continents, including Antarctica, due to the sheet deposits of flood runoff. And bedrock can be scratched by a landslide just as easily as it is scratched by a glacier. So it could have been caused by Noah's flood rather than by an ice age. Now, the eruption of Mount St. Helens and the formation of Surtsey Island show that geological features can be formed rapidly. If the design of skink scales could be copied in engineering, then it would be useful in the design of anti-locking brakes, computer hard disk drives, and cell phone accelerometers. Well, these are all scintillating facts, but I'm sure they'll be helpful to see that God has got everything in balance.